Hey everybody, RC here. Welcome back to Dwarf Fortress, and we are playing Anviltrumpets, and this is episode 15. So when we left off last episode, we were starting to build this tower up here on the bluff to the northeast of our entrance, and it's going to be several stories tall when we're done, so it can look out over this northeast bluff, and that's to get early warning for anything that attacks from this area. And eventually we will have several of these around the map. For right now, just kind of walking through, we have a few things going on. Nothing major, just, catching up with a lot of things. Oh, while I'm thinking about it, I do need to turn on workflow. Just a reminder, if you use DF Hack, I don't know why it does not come on automatically, even though I have it toggled to come on. If you know, please let me know in the comments, because I cannot figure that out for the life of me. So I have to turn it on each and every time I load the game in. So that's just to get the work orders to start calibrating correctly. Let's see. We don't have any jobs for our miners. Just kind of running through each level here. We have our workshops are progressing. We built the refuse stockpile recently to start putting some bones and turtle shells in there. We have got our Hall of Memories, and in fact we had done an engraving just in the last episode. We had set that up, and we can come actually look at those. So here on this one corner of that pillar, we see an image of a scepter done by Medtob, and a ballista part picture by Medtob. Latast did a masterfully designed image of a reindeer, which is the image of the brass staff, the local Dwarven government. So this is actually one, let's see, this one is an image of cheese. Dwarves like cheese, evidently. We see that a lot if you watch any Let's Plays. They're always making pictures and renditions of cheese. This one's interesting because this is the first engraving that actually has to do with our own fortress rather than just memories of where they came from or happenings or events in other parts of the world. So this is actually the first one that deals specifically with Anviltrumpets. And so that's what we want to start seeing more and more of. And it's the things like that that will bring your fortress to life for you as you play the game. Let's see, we have the caskets going in down here. We still have a few that are blocked off. And we have the bedrooms. Now, last time we had to dig out some of the walls to get hold of some of the platinum that was in there. So we are going to come in real quick. I need to turn box select back on. And we want to find blocks. And we'll put a wall here. A wall here. And a wall there. And then I'm going to put a wall here, but I'm going to leave this spot right here, I'm going to leave empty just for now. And the reason I'm doing that is dwarves are not very good at building things at an angle. So we have this square here that's at the intersection of these two walls. What'll happen is they will build this part and this part first, and then they can't get to that part. And you end up with that gap that they can then walk through, but they can't build it. So I will leave this open so they can access that. After that one's built, I'll add that one in. And that should get us, oh, we do have one more section up here. Now, it's 3 sections, but I only have 2 blocks. So I will just hit escape to get out of there and leave that one blank spot. And once we have some more blocks, I will add that in. So we'll unpause it, let them start working. What I want to do now is I want to come up here and I want to start digging a couple of things. So let's go ahead and start. I'm just kind of measuring out where I wanted that to be. Right there. All right, and I just did something wrong, so that'll be a learning experience for us. All right, you see the blue, that's ice. That's ice here from the water up above that's frozen. But you see right here in this corner, I have dug into this wall, and the water can, when it thaws, will flow out of there and potentially flood this room. And if it's enough water, it could actually go into your stairwell and flood your entire fortress. So there are some very major engineering mishaps that can happen in this game. So you have to be very wary of that. So we're going to remove a designation, just that corner piece, and that way it keeps this wall structure intact for our internal integrity to where the water cannot get into this area. And what this is going to be, you remember the episode where we were attacked by the were creature, the elf, and he attacked not only our dwarf and killed him, he also attacked and wounded our animals that were on the surface in the pen and pasture. Well, it's very dangerous to keep animals outside for that exact reason. Not just were creatures, but also any armies that would come in will attack it, those animals as well. And animals don't last long on the surface. So what you want to do is eventually you want to move them into an internal pasture. Now, I won't be able to move anything in right away. I'm just digging it out ahead of time because I'm going to do a couple of things, and then I'm going to set them digging for the caverns. And what happens when you dig to the caverns have trees and things in the caverns, and those spores are then released into the fortress itself. And any area that's made out of dirt or clay, like our farm area, that does not have anything else in it, will gather those spores and start growing that wild grass and things that then your animals can eat. So it becomes an internal grass area, just like if they were outside and eating the grass out here. So that's the goal, is to get them inside. So I'm just going to dig that to have that done. The other thing I want to dig, and we'll have them dig that first because it's soil and or clay, and it'll go very fast. All right, I do want to come to here. Oh, about that. Is that where I want to do it? No. I want to come and do it down here. There we go. All right, and then I'm going to make a doorway here. And here. And a doorway there. So this is going to be a militia room where they can train and sleep. This one in particular will be for my melee dwarves. And speaking of that, let's go, because it'll stay paused. I'm going to get out of this. We'll go into the militia screen by hitting M. There's a couple of things I want to go over in this screen now. So the first thing is, when you create your squads, figure out a couple of things dealing with supplies and ammunition. Now for me, I like everybody to have no water and no food. And this is what they'll carry in their backpack. A lot of times you'll tell them, hey, go kill that goblin, and they'll go, oh, but I need water or food. I'm going to go do that first before I go out and chase the goblin or whatever, and they get away, and or they steal something, and because they're too busy. So basically, you go to you'll come to this screen, and you use the slash, multiplication, minus, and plus keys. So the minus and plus do the water, the multiplication and the division sign on your number pad do the food. I switch mine to none. You can carry some, it doesn't matter, just up to you. I also want to go look at ammunition, and the hunters, the one you're looking at is in blue, so the hunters have no ammunition because I'm not going to have hunters. Then I use my up and down arrow. My archers, I will want to have ammunition because they're using crossbows, so I need to add an item. Blue is the one that's selected. You can use your up and down arrows to move through that, and then I'm going to hit enter to select bolts. And then you can use these keys here to change the amount, but 100 is good, and they're going to use that for combat and for training, and you can toggle those on or off here. And you can even pick specific materials which you may want to do later in the game when you get your metalworking industry up, and you might be making, say, silver bolts or copper bolts or bronze bolts or whatever. Right now, this is going to be any bolt they can get their hand on. And then Dismab's destroyers, we don't want them to have any ammunition because they're melee. Then I want to go in right now. Remember, we made a manager's job to make 8 shields. So I want to equip those shields now. So we're going to hit E, and we're going to go down to the melee guys first because it's more important for them. I'm going to use the right and left arrows, and I'm going to pick my first guy. And up here you have armor, legs, helmet, gloves, boots, shield, and weapon. So I'm going to Shift S, and I want them to have a specific shield, so I'll hit Enter. And there's my list of shields in my fortress. If they're white, they're not in use, so I can choose any one of these. And there, I gave him a high wood shield. We'll come back over to Arish, Shift S, specific shield. Now you notice that high wood shield is colored in. That means it's already being used by someone else or claimed. So we're going to go to the next one, and we're just going to work our way right down the list. And this gives them shields that now they can start training with to build up their defensive capability with it. I also give shields to my archers, because if they get into combat and they get into melee range with somebody, they will use their crossbow as a hammer, and the shield, they become basically a hammer dwarf with a shield, so the shield helps them from a defensive standpoint as well. And you can do this specific assignment. Later, once I get my metal smithing or my leather working up and I start making leather or metal armor and stuff, you can actually go in and create specific uniforms in this screen, and you would still come back to equip, and then you would use the assign uniforms option, and it would actually, when you hit U, it would actually give you a list of the different uniforms that you had designed over here, and you could, so you might have one for archer gear, hammer dwarf set, sword set, whatever it may be, and you could assign it that way without having to go into each individual one. There's no right or wrong way. The assign uniforms is a lot easier. It just takes time to set it up. You have to do that each time you play the game, but you don't have to do it each time you start the game. So each fortress, you would have to do that once. So what will happen now is all those dwarfs will go off and get their shields, and then they will have those. Let's see, they are digging, so they're digging in this room here, and there they go. I'm going to go ahead and put a door in there with planning mode. So we will do that. And once they do these two things, I am going to have them start digging for the caverns to try to get that opened up. Now, we've had one of our archers taken by a Feymood. The problem with a Feymood is they will go make an artifact, but they don't get any skill points for it. If they are taken by or possession, they don't get any type of points. But anyway, let's watch where he goes. And he's coming up here, and he claimed this Craftsdorf shop. So we can come up here, we can use Q and look over it, and here's where he's telling us what he has. I must have rock, I must have bones, and that's it. Alright, so, well, we have bones down here, and we have plenty of rock all over the place, so he should start getting all of his items, and sure enough, there he goes. He's coming to get a bone down there, and when he has everything he wants, he'll start making the item. And we can click on here right now, and you can see there's 16 yak bones and a piece of tetrahedrite, which is a ore that contains mostly copper and a little bit of silver. So that's actually a good ore to have too. And now he's got everything he wants, and he has begun his construction. So we will leave him to it, and then it will tell us when he is done. I want to just pop up here Yeah, we did suspend that middle wall, but they have not started on that yet. And they suspend the construction of a wall. Okay, so that's down here. There must be... okay, so there's a piece of platinum right there that they have not moved yet. And we'll just have to see if we can get them to move it. All right, and they finished this corner intersection. So we will go ahead and see about putting in our other piece. And we did make a few more blocks. And so this one they can't reach. We'll just have to, bide our time. Let's see. Yep, so he's starting that one. Now he moved that one. This one I guess they can't move because they have items on both sides of it. So we'll just have to keep tabs on that. And we'll have to fix that at some other point. All right, so here is my room that I have set aside to be my pasture. And again, you have that corner that I kept open. All right, let's see. So Stukos, our archer, has created Vudthertab Stukernal, a tetrahedrite bracelet. So we want to go to Shift L, and we want to look at the bracelet and look at the description of it. So it's a tetrahedrite bracelet, so with silver and copper ore in it. All Craftsdorf ship of an artifact is always of the highest quality. It is decorated with horsebone and encircled with bands of yak bone. It menaces with spikes of tetrahedrite. So it doesn't sound very comfortable to wear, but it is worth 9,600 Dwarf bucks. And that should get put into our artifact pile here for everybody to admire for eternity. And is that them? No, that's a bunny rabbit. Okay. Now, you notice this rabbit has a name. That means they're a pet. So if we're looking in the animal list, you have puppies, you have turkeys, you have pigs, cats, dogs, and then you have a zasset. Well, what's a zasset? Well, it's a rabbit in this case. That's name is Zasset, and it belongs to somebody, just like Nil is a guinea cock and Kivish is a cat. You cannot ever butcher these animals. If they die, they will make their owner very unhappy. Now, the problem with rabbits is they are grazing creatures. They have to have grass. While he's inside all the time, he runs the risk of dying. So I need to set up a little pasture right here. I'm going to make it a pen pasture, and I am going to put Zazist in it. And then I just noticed the guinea cock might already be in here, but let's see. Nope. Oh yeah, yeah he is. There he is. Nil. You see the green here? He's already in that pasture. So I just didn't catch that. All right, so we will get them back. So they should bring the rabbit out to this little pasture. That it's enough for him to eat and probably keep him alive. He's just a rabbit, but you would need a much larger pasture for more substantial animals, cows, horses, things of that nature. Okay, I need to go into J and M for manager, and I need to add a new job. So when you come in here, you just start typing out what you want. So I want a rock weapon rack, and I want 2 of those. And I want another order. I want a rock armor stand, and I want 2 of those. When you do it through the manager and you have the manager's office where we set up earlier in the game in the first or second episode, I don't remember, they will assign that themselves. I want to put some doors down in our militia area here. And I'm going to go ahead and use planning mode for 1 armor stand and 1 weapon rack right there. And they opened up that other door, so we'll put a door in there too. And you have to have an armor stand and a weapon rack to make a barracks. or a militia room. This is where they will train. And then this room is where we will make the actual barracks. And this is where that militia squad will sleep. So we'll set all that up once it's dug out and we have the items in place. Now you can see we only have one dwarf digging. So I know I have two of them, but that's something every once in a while you may want to check. And I look at these screens a lot, especially for the other. That tells me if we have anything going on. And do we have traders? Huh. Okay. Now my trade items are mugs and goblets, and I'm only going to bring one. Elves typically don't have much that I want. The best thing I think they have is sometimes they'll have wild animals that are tame, like jaguars or lions, that you can buy those and then train them to be war animals. So since they only have to bring one item, I'm going to go ahead and call my trader now by hitting R. And it tells me he's eating, so it'll take him a little while to get here as it is. But that way they can start getting that out there. Migrants. All right, so right down here we've got some migrants coming in. Don't know how many, but this is our third migrant wave or second. Typically these start getting much larger in size. And they're all coming inside. They're going downstairs because our dining room is our meeting hall. So they are coming into here and they will start, just milling around this area. Okay. While they're coming in, I'm going to build some beds, and each squad can have a maximum of 10 dwarfs. So I'm going to build each one of them a very military-like, a bed with a little box, the little box at the end of the bed for them to keep their personal gear in. And a snowstorm has come, so it's starting to snow. All right, we know that we've got these guys coming in. So you need to do a couple of things at this point. One, we don't know what kind of animals they brought. And you can see our bunny is outside in that pasture now. So I'm going to go to that pasture just real quick, and I'm going to see if there's anything else. So we have a KV sow, which is a guinea pig. Those are grazers. A yak calf, a bunch of KV pups. Oh my goodness. Another bunny, a nanny goat, a donkey. Oh man. Way too many items, way too many animals, especially for that pasture. Let's see. All right. All right. So I have to enlarge it to make room for all of these. We're going to have to actually butcher a bunch of these, I think. Let's see, donkey, nanny goat, bunny. Except for these KV puffs, they're KV sows. They're all pets. All right, so I want to come into Z animals. I'm going to go ahead and butcher the yak, the bunny that's not a pet, everything else, the donkey, everything else is a pet. Oh, this is just not good. All right, because I'm not ready for those animals as pets, because they're going to have to stay outside to survive, and then if they go outside, they're going to die. So it's a lose-lose situation. So that kind of puts more of a time crunch for me to get down to the caverns. Let's see. All right, we've got a couple of minutes left. Just to remind you, now that we have all these in, I'm going to go into Dwarf Therapist. I'm going to sort by migrant wave. And We only have 21 people because remember I already had this up, so I have to refresh it, which is to read the dwarves, and we're up to 42. So we got 21 people here, and I am going to mark all of these as unassigned. And then I'm going to go back and sort by profession. One of the things you want to look at real quick whenever, I need to undo all of them. You want to just kind of glance at their skills and their stats. And anybody that has a really high number, that's good most of the time, but the game does have vampires, and one of the indicators is very high skills in a lot of categories. And it doesn't have to be every category, so this person could be, but because most of the time a vampire will have something very high in military. Now he's only a 3 as a hammerman, which you can see there, the 6th item down in the list. So I'm guessing he is not, but it is something to be cognizant about. You also go into the military screen and see if anybody just jumps off the page, as having typically they did away with, it used to be you could pull this up and you'd see somebody that had, I remember one in particular, it was like 4,700 kills. Well, that's very unusual when most people have 3 or 4 or 0. So almost 5,000 kills. That was kind of a giveaway that was a vampire. They actually did away with that in DF Hack to where that was not an easy giveaway. But the ratings are one of the giveaways that you have to at least be aware of. Then you can go into that character in the game and read some of the description, and you're going to want to look at things like loves alcohol but can't remember the last time he had a drink, because we mentioned earlier dwarves in this game need alcohol to survive, and so a dwarf that loves alcohol is not unusual, but when he can't remember the last time he had a drink or has not had a drink recently, that's an indicator because he can't drink because he's a vampire. All he can drink is blood. So you have a couple of options at that point, and we'll go a little long here just to kind of hit them. You can either take them and lock them in a room somehow, and then if they die, well, you were wrong. If they don't die, you were right. Kind of like the Salem witch trials. And the other option is to wait until you get a notice that somebody has died. When you go look at that person, the description will say that they were completely drained of blood, which is, of course, indicative that you have a vampire in your fortress. At that point, of course, it's too late for the one person, but that is your definitive answer that somebody is a vampire. And it's then a matter of going in and just using deduction, trying to figure out who it is. Sometimes you'll be right, sometimes you'll be wrong. So anyway, why don't we put a cut in there in the downtime between episodes? I am going to go ahead and sort all my guys, all my new dwarfs here into their professions, and try to get some more into our military squads. And then next episode we'll go over that, show you where I put everybody, and hopefully we'll be very close to having our first melee room done, and we can get our first squad to training, and we will talk about that. And then we will probably start working on our Marksdorf squad room with archery ranges, because they need archery ranges to shoot at, and we'll talk about that. So thanks for watching, and I will see you next episode.